The reenactments and commentary in this program may contain frank talk of a sexual nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, folks, get ready to rumble. The accuser's mom goes one-on-one with defense attorney Tom Mesereau, and it's a knockdown, drag-out, no-holes-barred slugfest. I do not exaggerate. Even Catwoman enters the battle. Whew. Hi, I'm James Curtis. Welcome to East coverage of the Michael Jackson trial. The accuser's mom, even reminiscent of a boxer, she knew I was going to use this boxing analogy, so therefore she accommodated us all by wearing a hood as she was led into the courthouse. She was soon followed by the King of Pop himself as he took his ringside seat for what turned out to be a rather spectacular courtroom fight that lived up to all expectations. A program note, you'll hear the name Bill Dickerman. He is the witness's former lawyer. And here's what the jurors heard according to the courtroom transcripts.
You never went to any court at any time and tried to get a restraining order against Mr. Jackson or anyone you thought was associated with him, right?
I was hoping it will just go all away, and Mr. Dickerman handled everything.
You thought you were being falsely imprisoned, right?
Correct.
You thought...
I didn't think it. I knew it.
You thought you were being extorted, true?
What do you mean?
Did you think you were the victim of extortion by Mr. Jackson or any people associated with him?
Please be more clear.
Do you know what extortion means?
No, I don't.
Okay. Did you think you were being restrained against your will by either Mr. Jackson or anyone you thought was associated with him?
Yes.
Did you think you were being...
I didn't think it. I knew it.
Did you think you were being kidnapped by Mr. Jackson or anyone associated with him?
Calls for a legal conclusion. Objection.
Sustained.
Did you think you were being held against your will by Mr. Jackson or anyone associated with him?
Did I think it?
Yes.
I knew it.
And did you think you were the victim of either force or fear created by anyone associated with Mr. Jackson?
I knew it.
Yet you never went into court to get any restraining order at any time regarding Mr. Jackson. True?
I was too scared of him.
Well, if you think that's something, folks, next, tempers flare and things get a little hairy.
Getting back to the leg wax that you had on February 11th, 2003, the day of your escape, you had a full leg treatment, a brow treatment, a lip treatment, a face treatment, and a bikini wax. Is that correct?
That's incorrect.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the receipt?
It wouldn't refresh my recollection because I know my recollection. It's solely a leg wax, and if they've manipulated it, that's what they've done.
The total cost was $140, correct?
Like I say, it was only a leg wax.
Would it refresh your recollection to just look at the copy of the receipt?
I am telling you, it was only a leg wax. He has the ability to choreograph everything.
How about you, Miss?
No.
Okay, you don't want to even look at the receipt?
No, because I'm telling you, it was only a leg wax.
Okay, Ricky, Sean, Howard, I got to tell you, first, there's so much to say about this, and I'm just going to let it go after I tell you that I couldn't stop reading this transcript. You know, I am a golf addict. I admit it, I'm a golf addict. I love doing it. I didn't go play because I was reading this transcript this weekend.
Well, the beauty of this cross-examination, as we shall see as it continues to unfold, is not only the wonderful technical skill of Tom Mesereau, which is just a thing of inspiration, but it's also the fact, I'll tell you, with all the years I have taught cross-examination to lawyers across this country, I have never taught, because I've never had any witness like this, to say, this is what you do when a witness is out of her mind.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what you do. You just let her roll from time to time. What you have here, let's take just what we just saw. The leg wax for $140. Now, I think Sean and I could be experts on it. There is no leg wax for $140.
And of course, she says, you know, they've manipulated the receipt. You know, and we see that later on. She talks about their telephone calls that have been taped. And she says those have been manipulated. So, you know, she's telling the truth. Everything else has been manipulated by them.
You know what? This is why good prosecutions get lost.
here's a witness, in my opinion, that should never be testifying in this case. It's a count that should never have been brought. She could
the first count about extortion,
that's
abduction.
Right.
Yeah.
She could destroy the prosecution's case. She has no credibility. She's now accusing Michael Jackson of manipulating receipts from a body wax or leg wax. I just don't get it. And cross-examination of this lady is too easy.
He's like shooting fish in the proverbial barrel.
The prosecutor should be sticking with showers with little kids and sleeping in bed with them.
Yeah, indeed, and we'll see how that plays out. As cross-examination continues, is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down as the defense attorney and the accuser's mother both join in and critique the witness's performance?
Miss, at any time in that rebuttal tape, did you talk about going to Germany and dealing with orphans per the script?
No. Obviously, they eliminated that.
Okay.
Or maybe I forgot. I don't know.
I understand.
Like I told you, I got in trouble for not doing exactly what they said. So that's why the process of leaving out of the country had to happen.
Right. I understand.
You're correct. I did an inadequate job. I'm a poor actress. You're right.
I think you're a good one.
I'm going to move to object. Ask the court to admonish counsel.
I'll admonish counsel not to make those remarks.
I will
admonish the jury to disregard such a remark. I expect more professional behavior from you.
I apologize, Your Honor. I withdraw it.
And you must only answer his questions. You're not to get into arguments with him. It's as much your fault. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, not only does the defense attorney get admonished, but the witness? We'll be talking about that as well. Next, a bad influence or good planning.
Now, you talk about the Germans keep trying to push Michael Jackson to drink. Do you see that?
Yes. How foolish I was. I thought he didn't drink. And they choreographed the little scene in front of me where they were pretending like he doesn't drink, and he doesn't even drink Pepsi, and I fell for that. I did. Now I know a lot of things.
You complained that the Germans are trying to get Michael Jackson to drink alcohol, right?
Yes, like I said, I fell for it, their little choreography. I thought he didn't drink. They pointed out he didn't drink an ounce of alcohol, not even Pepsi, and I fell for it. Yes, I did.
When you fell for this, how many times had you stayed at Neverland?
This is the period before I left with Jesus. This is this period.
When you fell for this, how many times had you stayed at Neverland?
This is the period before I left with Jesus.
Okay. And did you watch the people you refer to as the Germans trying to get Michael to drink?
Yes. Michael was part of this choreography. Michael had pointed out he doesn't drink. And the Germans said he doesn't drink and that he doesn't even drink Pepsi. He was going, no, no, and now I know different. Now I know that Neverland's all about booze, pornography, and sex with boys.
Move to strike her comments as self-serving.
They're stricken. The jury is admonished to disregard those remarks.
All right, Howard, here you go. We've got an admonishment here to the jury with respect to this witness. He took to task, the judge that is, Tom Mesereau, but he's also talking to this witness about her behavior.
The only picture that comes up in my mind is taking one of those inflatable bats and going up to this witness and just whacking her upside the head and saying, just answer the questions.
Howard, this is good for the defense, Howard, isn't it, though?
I don't think it's good for anybody. It's not good for the system. It's not good for the defense. It's not good for the prosecution. You have a lady up here who's out of control, and it wouldn't matter who's asking her the questions.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. With all due respect to Mesereau, because he's a brilliant attorney, this woman did the exact same thing on direct. She has her own agenda. She's going to say what she wants to say. It doesn't matter what the rules of court are, what question is being asked. She's going to do her own thing.
And we're going to see later on. Hold on, thought, Rick. We're going to get in this next piece of tape and take this break real quick. But we'll see later on that this woman actually starts talking directly to the jury. A quick program. You know, you heard the name Jesus Salas. You'll remember he is the former manager of the Neverland household. When we return, is it too late to call on Catwoman to save us all from this dire situation? Stay with us.
The reenactments and commentary in this program may contain frank talk of a sexual nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back. The aggressive cross-examination of the accuser's mother continues with defense attorney Tom Mesereau asking about an earlier lawsuit. Now, the settlement that this witness entered into seems to literally shrink, become smaller and smaller before our very eyes. Here's what she told the jurors according to the courtroom transcripts.
Are you aware of the deadlines that you or your children have to file claims against Mr. Jackson?
We will never file a claim against Mr. Jackson. I want justice here.
Are you aware, Miss, of the deadlines you have to file a civil claim against Mr. Jackson? Yes or no?
I think so. I'm not interested, so I don't ask.
I understand. And in this case, you weren't interested until after the criminal investigation was over, correct?
I wanted an apology.
Which case is counsel referring to? It's vague.
I will rephrase it. The prosecutor is correct. In the J.C. Penney case, you waited till after a criminal investigation was over to file your civil claims. True?
I wanted an apology.
You wanted over $100,000, didn't you?
I didn't get over $100,000.
You got $152,000 in the settlement, Miss, didn't you?
In my hand, I did not get $150,000.
May I ask the witness to be instructed?
I think she just answered.
I answered.
It was your question. Your last question was basically whether she got a certain amount, and she's trying to answer that.
The settlement to you and...
Just a minute. Let her finish the answer.
In my hand, I received only $32,000. That's it. In my hand. And that's my best approximation.
Okay, lesson here, folks. Don't fight with the attorney when you're talking about nitty-gritty details. Next, David, the witness's former husband, enters the picture as defense attorney Tom Mesereau shifts from the color of money to the shades of shame.
When you were seeking money from J.C. Penney and Tower Records, you testified under oath on December 18th, the year 2000, that you never had any black and blue marks prior to the incident at J.C. Penney, correct?
Yes, this is correct. I was too embarrassed to ever tell anyone.
You made that statement because you wanted any injury you ever had to be attributed to J.C. Penney and Tower Records, right?
Incorrect. What J.C. Penney's and Tower Records did to me was one day, one situation, one incident, that's it.
If you had testified truthfully under oath and said that your bruises were from David, the amount of monetary damages you could get from J.C. Penney would have been lowered. True?
This is incorrect. I would have never told anyone until David got arrested that David was giving me these bruises. Never. People would see me with bruises, and I would never, never, never tell them.
You did say under oath that David is extremely honest. He's too honest?
Yes.
And you weren't telling the truth when you made that statement under oath, correct?
Anything to do with David? No. That's why I went to the civil attorneys to try to correct that after he was arrested.
Sean Chapman-Holly, this, contrary to your learned colleague Howard Weitzman's assessment, this belongs here in this cross-examination. This goes to her credibility.
This absolutely goes to her credibility. I think all of this goes to her credibility. And the jury, as we've said last week, has seen the rebuttal video, sees her, and they have to make their own assessments about her credibility. She's not a credible witness.
And Ricky, I want to get you back to your last thought, but this woman poses a great danger, as Howard pointed out, rightfully so, for the prosecution.
There is no question about it, because you could throw the baby out with the bathwater. Prosecution decided that they were going to go forward with this false imprisonment claim, as well as with the child molestation. The result is that if they do feel that this woman is so whacked, which she clearly is, that her children were under her influence, and that none of them have respect for the oath because they all allegedly lied in the J.C. Penney case, then maybe the molestation goes out too.
Absolutely.
She could taint the credibility of almost all the witnesses in her family if she hasn't already.
But the thought still remains. If you have a wacky mom, does that mean the kid wasn't molested? Not necessarily so. And does it even more so make the children of this family more ideal as victims? As testimony continues, the rebuttal tape is brought up and the claws come out. That's not, well, anyway. A program note. Vinny Amen, you'll hear that name. He's one of Michael Jackson's associates.
Miss, were the words you just articulated on that tape all memorized?
Yes.
Were you lying on this tape?
No. I'm a poor actress. That's why they started the proceeding to go do the passport and the visa. That's what Vinny had communicated to me, that what I did was inadequate.
You were not lying on this tape.
Acting.
Let me rephrase the question. The jury just heard the words you expressed on the tape, right?
Correct.
Were they lies?
Acting.
Your Honor, may I request that the witness be instructed to answer the question?
Well, the question was, were they lies? And she said, acting.
I can rephrase it, Your Honor. When you said what the jury just heard you say on this tape, were you telling the truth?
I was acting. I don't know how you want me to define it. I mean, you're not going to call Halle Berry and say, "Are you Catwoman?" She's going to tell you she's acting. She's just acting. She's not a liar. I was acting. That's it.
Okay, now you guys get the Catwoman clause thing? Okay. Once again, as we move on, not too late to do that, we hear about Michael Jackson's associates, Ronald and Dieter, as Gavin's mom taunts the defendant, the King of Pop.
Miss, was what you just said about Michael Jackson being fatherly the truth?
Everything on here was choreographed by Dieter and Ronald, specifically Dieter. And it's all acting, and I failed at that.
Are the words you spoke true or false?
The words I spoke were part of a script.
Were you telling the truth or not?
I was acting.
Was Gavin telling the truth or not as far as you were concerned?
As far as...
I think that's speculative. I'll object.
It's overly broad. I'll sustain the objection.
Was it your belief that Gavin was acting in this tape?
Yes, because I had seen Dieter work with my children prior to Jesus taking us back to my mom's house. I had seen Dieter work with me and my children.
Did you believe that what Gavin was saying was true or false?
I believe, like I told you, Dieter had worked with us continuously on this script.
Did you believe what Gavin said was the truth or not?
I believe what he was saying was keeping to the script.
Now, you say in this tape about, Davelin says in this tape about Michael, the fact that he stood up and defended us, that's a father. Was that just scripted?
Okay, all this on the video, plus the outtakes, everything is scripted. Michael, when we arrived in Miami, had like a 45-minute lovey-dovey meeting with us.
Okay, and they started scripting it in Miami?
They must have. They must have. Started all this stuff way before I was even called up to Miami. They must have.
So they were scripting you in Miami, but you didn't know what they were doing, right?
Like I said, we're going to have to call Ronald, Dieter, all of them in here to find out what they were up to. Or Michael, he could come up here.
Howard Weitzman, this video certainly will speak for itself. It has spoken for itself. I think this jury has seen it no less than 4 times up to now. How does this woman get away with answering the question in response to where you're lying on the video with "I was acting"?
Well, you have a judge who doesn't force her to answer the questions. Again,
how should that have gone? Well, what should the judge have done?
First of all, if it was me, I would have asked the question a bit differently. I would have said, so are you telling me that you lied on the video? That only calls for a yes or no answer. If she says I was acting, I'd look at the judge and say, Judge, can she just answer the question yes or no? At least the jury would understand that the judge has an agenda a bit separate. I just want to say one more thing. Again, I got to get it out. The prosecutors made a mistake, in my opinion, by calling this woman.
Yeah, well, as we said, with the prior bad act evidence, it's in. This woman's on the stand, Ricky.
Well, she is on the stand, and of course, if she didn't get called by the prosecution, the defense would have called her. But I think we all collectively agree. Then the defense has to call her to beat up on her, which is a very different dynamic than this.
Why is that different, John? As the defense calling her as opposed to the prosecution calling her?
Well, the dynamic, the effect of it is different as far as the jury is concerned. The prosecution calling her, of course, we expect Tom Mesereau to beat up on her. He's cross-examining her. If he calls her to beat up on her, then it's like a hostile witness. It doesn't have the same effect as far as the jury is concerned.
Kind of setting up a straw man. You're just setting up somebody
then
just
he
so
looks
you
like
can
a
punch
bad
him
guy.
down. Exactly. And now, is he looking like a hero? I don't know. When we return, the devil is in the details, folks, but contemplate this over the break, and as we look at this next testimony when we come back, where did all the time go that was put into the preparation of this rebuttal video? Stay with us.
The reenactments and commentary in this program may contain frank talk of a sexual nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back. Was it bad acting or lousy directing? If the accuser's mother is accurate about the amount of time that she and her family spent preparing for the rebuttal video, shouldn't it have been Academy Award quality? Well, here's what happened, according to the courtroom transcripts.
Now, you say that everything the jury has just watched and heard on this videotape was memorized and rehearsed, right?
Yes, and while I was over here in JJ's apartment, they had their claws in my 3 kids.
How long did it take all of you to memorize all the words that the jury just heard you say?
Well, they worked. Dieter, while I was there in my presence, Dieter worked, well, with us daily on about the average of 10 times a day. And then when I came over here and the children were over there, who knows how many times that you'd have to get from my children.
Let's talk about you only. You said you sat down with Dieter 10 times a day, correct?
My best estimate.
And where did you do that?
In one of the guest houses, the one that looked like the little boy's room, that one.
This is the first time, after numerous police interviews and after going to the grand jury, that you ever said, I met with Dieter 10 times a day to memorize my words, right?
No, I said many times daily.
Now,
Wait. I have a theory.
You have a theory.
I have a theory.
Is that why you're raising your hand?
Call on me.
Okay.
They need this witness to make the false imprisonment claim. And they need the false imprisonment claim so that the jury can split the baby ultimately.
What do you mean?
Meaning they will find him not guilty on the false imprisonment charges, but guilty on the child molestation charges so they can feel good about themselves.
So they're giving the jury a bone? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
I can't imagine.
Exactly right.
I can't imagine, though I do love your theory. I can't imagine that the prosecution is that Machiavellian, that they planned this out in order to split the baby, to use Sean's phrase. But what happens here, I think if we go away from the big theory, is they're stuck with this woman.
Yeah.
But at this point, her story is preposterous. The idea that you're having people come in and rehearsing her like a conductor with a baton.
Yeah.
Do it again. Do it again. It's so ridiculous. Yeah. So they are jammed up by their own witness.
All right. Final thought, Howard?
Prosecutors should stay with where there's smoke, there's fire theory. Concentrate on kids in the shower, kids in the bed. Talk about the beautiful and the ugly. How could this lady even mention Halle Berry's name?
Ooh, Howard, you said that out loud.
I did.
Okay. If the jury had to vote today, guilty, not guilty. Real quick, one word.
Come on, not guilty.
One word.
I have no idea.
One word.
I'm not there yet.
All right.
The
They never
lawyers
answer
say
my
it depends.
Watch our exclusive coverage of the Michael Jackson trial. Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. and the rest of the week, the accuser's mom continues her bizarre courtroom testimony. And where is it? Only on E!